Be here. Honored to be showing work with Marisol, honored to be in the Anya Tish gallery. So typically there are two avenues about the work that get discussed, and it's the first is the how and then the why. So let's start with the how first. The work is a digital collage. So what that means is every piece has at least 30 to 40 images in it, at least. I'm walking around with my iPhone taking photos of textures all the time. The faces are built up from family photos, archival images, sometimes my own face, and they're created. So the eye from a different face, a nose from a different face, an ear from another source. Sometimes it's mine if I'm looking for the right angle. So these people are invented. My parents, in their 80s now, told me simultaneously, keep your head down, don't stick your neck out, stay out of trouble. But then conversely, they would tell me, go out there and be anything you want to be. So, okay, what do I do? Do I strive for the best or do I keep my head down? So those figures are essentially me contorting myself day to day because those are all the different permutations of how I've got to behave. So if I get pulled over, got to behave a certain way. If I'm going in for a job interview, got to behave a certain way. If I'm hanging out with my friends or my family, it's a completely different day. Driving to Lubbock, I don't know if you've ever driven to Lubbock, but you see the cotton fields. So I've always wanted to get an up-close photo of bursting cotton. So I just pulled over the side of the road and took that photo. So again, that's how the images are collected. Sometimes there's archival text that's scanned in. Sometimes there are manuscripts from books that I like. For instance, that's a manuscript from The Sound and the Fury. There are a lot of details in the work when you get up close. You'll see the piece back there called Pleasantries with the orange head wrap. You'll see a little button on the shirt, an antique button promoting women's suffrage. So there's this linkage from 100 years ago to today when you think about what's happening with the Voting Rights Act nowadays. So I always try to connect what's happening now to what's happened before, because that idea that some of the things we're going through now are nothing new, and there's this correlation and opportunity for empathy between black men and all women. There's this opportunity that we go through some of the same things. And that's a core part of what I like to talk about, because there are aspects of the legacy of slavery, the legacy of racism that you'll see. You'll also notice that the faces, because of that legacy, none of the faces have an expression of fear or defeat. You'll always see the expression of either pride, an expression of a direct gaze back at the viewer, because I want you to engage and understand or take that in internally and think about how you feel about the state of the country, where we've been, where we might be going. And it's a sense of resistance as well. Some people may shy away from an argument, but I love it, because now we're mad, let's talk. Let's figure out what it is. Like, you've got to be mad about something. So this really came to a head. I showed art at the other art fair in Dallas. And I had a particularly, say provocative, controversial image above my left shoulder. It was a young black boy in a gold suit and a noose. And it was right here over my left shoulder. And I'm standing out facing the people walking by, talking, greeting, talking about the work. And every time somebody walks by, I know what they're looking at. So when they looked over this shoulder, I would see people stop, and they would kind of stare at it and look at me, look back at the work, and then I could tell, uh-oh, we're gonna have a discussion here. Sometimes they would just sort of shudder, sometimes they would nod approvingly or knowingly, and every now and then someone would walk up to me and go, why did you do that? Like, all right, now we're cooking. Now we get to talk about race. So I've had so many conversations about race that I never would have had. I mean, can you imagine that? A black man speaking to an older white woman in a gallery, we're talking about race. That never would have happened if it hadn't been for the art. We wouldn't have just stopped each other on the street and said, hey, let's talk about racial injustice today. That never would have happened. But in an art gallery, because of artwork, those conversations are now possible, at least in my life. So now I finally feel like I had this graphic skill, this visual skill, and now it's being put to good use. Because before, like I said, designing a logo for someone, not really changing the world. Not that my art's changing the world, but at least we're having conversations that hopefully will do that. So I think I ran through that pretty quickly, but that's my thing.
So hello everybody, my name is Marisol Valencia. I'm a Houston-based artist and I was born in Mexico and I was raised there. So my work seeks to capture my desire to find meaning and beauty in the everyday, in the abandoned, in things that have lost their purpose, that are overlooked or disregarded. I like to discover something special in the ordinary. I'm always trying to find significance in the insignificant, to find beauty where it's not expected. So my intention with this collection is to open a possibility to discover new perceptions. I use materials as a resource to reflect and reconsider what it is that makes us appreciate something, how open we are to discover new perspectives, and how often we let us be surprised by the unexpected. So in this body of work, I create pieces in which ceramics and either daily use materials or found objects are interacting with each other. So just to mention, for example, I use burned matches because during pandemic, my stove broke, so I need to light the pilot with matches every single time. I use them later. This is a piece that it was on a construction site and it was abandoned. They took everything away and then they left that, and I keep passing by that and it just caught my attention. Those are concrete expansion joints from a street under reparation. This is the cord that they used to make shoelaces. Those are the nails from my backyard that floated during Harvey. So it needs a renovation, so I kept the nails. And this is rawhide from, it's leftovers to construct drums. A lot of decisions that I made when creating this collection were influenced by my life in Mexico. After high school, during college, my first year of college, I studied archaeology and history. And I have always been amazed of the place in history of a ceramic vase. So most objects that you recover from an archaeological site usually is either metal artifacts or ceramic pieces. And it always amazed me how much information those objects can contribute to reveal the identity of a culture, even though that is not the main purpose to preserve memory is not the main purpose of a ceramic piece. So I create this collection, imagine that this will be like ceramics for a future that will contain memories from this society. So I'm interested in what we use as a domestic objects, like in the everyday life, materials, or what we discard as a society. After studying that year in archaeology, I switched to restoration and conservation in art. And I was very interested in materiality. All my appreciation for the materials in an artwork was very excited for me, especially their relationship with environment agents and the relationship between each other. So now I really dwell on the beauty of aging processes, deterioration, oxidation, humidity stains, burn marks, all these things that should not happen in an artwork, but I'm just fascinated by those. And the last thing that really influences the creation of this, it's what I call my Mexican personality or my Mexican culture. Mexican people can really feel comfortable navigating in life through opposites and contradictions. In terms of materials, I choose to work with clay. That is a material that is from nature, organic, that is very ancient, and pairing with a material that is in mass production. I like to keep like one part as a negative space that works like as a quiet area, like minimal information, and then an area that is more loud, more active, full of energy. So it's always about combining opposites. The Mexican culture is represented in the ceramic part, that I really feel that is more grounded, more close to earth, more close to my heart. And the other part is what I found here, and it's the active part, the more alive part, that it's in my present, and this is in my past.
Thank you.